Craig Bodzianowski was a throwback tough guy, a rising contender in the sport. Then came the motorcycle accident, a flash of metal, bone, and blood on asphalt. His foot was gone, just like that. 1 minute he was climbing the ranks, the next a cripple with a stump and a stack of dead dreams. The doctor said he'd never box again, might not even walk. But they didn't know what a man can do with enough rage, enough pride, and a prosthetic strapped to where his foot used to be. He came back to the sport, not for a movie deal, not to be a hero. He just wanted to fight. And maybe, just maybe, to show the world that grit isn't measured in bones or toes or ankles. It's in the man who keeps getting up, who never takes a backward step, not even with 1 foot. Growing up in the suburban sprawl of Tinley Park, Illinois, just south of Chicago, Craig Bodzianowski spent his early years doing what rough, restless kids do, testing limits, picking fights, and sizing up the world one busted lip at a time. When I was a kid, Craig said, I used to fight with everybody. My brother's 4 years older, and I used to beat up all of his friends. Born on February 7, 1961, Bodzianowski wrestled and played football at Sandburg High, but his real education came outside the school walls. Like many working-class kids in the area, he grew up feeling the separation between the haves and the have-nots. He didn't wear Lacoste polos like the well-heeled classmates around him. Instead, he got his own gator tattooed on the left side of his chest and cut holes in his shirts so it could show through. It was part rebellion, part identity. From then on, they called him Gator. His path into boxing began not in a ring, but in a local rec center. Bill O'Connor, a neighborhood man with a passion for the sport, launched a 12-week instructional course in Palos Park. Gator signed up, and everything changed. He'd hitchhike 9 miles every day to get there, O'Connor recalled. Didn't matter if it was raining or snowing. The kid had something in him. At the gym, Bodzianowski came under the tutelage of former middleweight contender Nate Bolden, a soft-spoken technician who believed in fundamentals and the value of repetition. It proved a perfect pairing. In boxing, your first teacher is everything, O'Connor said. Craig had a great one in Nate. The results came quickly. Bodzianowski racked up 62 wins in 67 amateur fights, including a standout performance that earned him the Chicago Park District's light heavyweight championship. He had barely been boxing for 3 months. That was a pretty big thing for me, Craig said. I was fighting guys who'd been doing it 2 years, and I was just figuring it out. He advanced all the way to the semifinals of the Chicago Golden Gloves, losing to a future world champion in Leroy Murphy. 2 years later, he would win the heavyweight championship of the Chicago Golden Gloves, but lose to Carl the Truth Williams in a New York versus Chicago Golden Gloves meet. Graduating high school, Bodzianowski went to work. He took a job operating a bulldozer in the wilds of Alaska, answering a call from a friend and chasing a paycheck. Later, he returned home and moved into construction. It was honest labor, but not the kind that builds dreams. I didn't want to be working like that for the rest of my life, Craig said. It was a hard time. Tragedy came calling in the form of a household accident, too awful to make sense. His brother Billy was tragically killed when a gun in the family's collection went off accidentally. The sudden loss left Craig adrift, physically strong, emotionally battered, and spiritually unmoored. Sensing the opening, his longtime trainer Nate Bolden stepped in with a proposition. Go pro. Take a real shot. Do something that gave all the pain a place to land. He does whatever I tell him, Bolden said. I tell him he can't go out there and fight for the crowd or a girlfriend or for his mother. You fight for yourself. That way, you're never disappointed. Craig signed with Chicago promoter Jerry Linza, best known for managing middleweight contender John Collins. It didn't take long before Bodzianowski was back in the gym, testing his limits against the likes of young Joe Louis, James Quick Tillis, Alfonso Ratliff, and Jumbo Cummings, sparring partners who knew how to separate tourists from real contenders. He turned pro in October of 1982 and tore through the Midwest fight circuit, winning his first 13 bouts, 11 of them by knockout. He wasn't fast or flashy. His style was raw, a straight-ahead grinder with heavy hands and stubborn lungs. Just as momentum was building, the ghosts returned. Bill O'Connor, the man who first introduced Craig to boxing in that dusty Park District gym in Palos Park, took his own life. For Craig, O'Connor was more than a trainer. He was a doorway to purpose. And now that doorway was shut. Not even 2 months later, everything changed. Craig was on a motorcycle, a woman on the back. They were coasting, easy speed. Then came a sudden U-turn by the car in front of them. Craig tried to avoid it. "I didn't have a chance," Craig said. "I was only going 15 miles an hour at the time." Crashing to the asphalt, Craig tried to get up 3 or 4 times, not understanding why he couldn't keep his balance, until he looked down at his foot. Bones were everywhere, Craig said, like a turkey leg with all those little fibers sticking out. Fortunately, his companion walked away with nothing more than a few minor bruises. But Craig was given a dire prognosis by the admitting physicians. "I was told by the doctors that if they did save it, and it was by no means a certainty, I'd have to undergo many operations, and that I'd have to walk with a cane for the rest of my life," Craig said. The doctors also gave him the option of amputating the foot and fitting him with a prosthesis. Craig weighed the choices: the prospect of going through several more operations to save his foot and spending years in rehab, or to simply amputate it. "I didn't want to be walking around with a dead foot for the rest of my life," Craig said. "So I said, cut it. I just said adios." The amputation would occur just above his ankle. He'd still have the ability to walk and possibly run with the prosthesis. A boxing career, however, wouldn't be possible. Craig thought otherwise. He also retained a sense of humor when he was asked if he wanted to sue the driver of the car that crippled him. "I can't go to court," Craig said. "I won't have a leg to stand on." Physicians fitted him with the Flex Foot, a 7-pound rubberized prosthesis. But Craig became overeager upon his release, engaging in physical activities like handball, which put his recovery months behind. He ran the stump right through, and they had to shave the bone, his manager said. Craig started the rehab again, slowly this time. He was able to stand on his feet for a few hours each day. Once he was able to do that, he would try and run. First, he only managed a couple of steps. Then the next day, 8 more, and on until he worked up to jogging 3 miles a day with the prosthesis. He worked hard in the months ahead, bicycling, jogging, then swimming. 6 months later, he returned to the boxing gym. He didn't tell any of his sparring partners that he was wearing a prosthesis. Things didn't go well for Craig in the beginning, but after a few rounds, he found his rhythm. The Gator was back. His manager contacted the Illinois State Athletic Commission, telling them that Craig was ready for a comeback. There was opposition, but 4 physicians gave positive opinions, swaying the board to see things Craig's way and grant him a boxing license. On December 14, 1985, Craig would return against Francis Sargent. The first fight back, Linda said, the crowd was almost silent, like they were waiting for his leg to fall off or something. Craig knocked Sargent out in 2 rounds, but rumors tainted the win after the bout. Sargent confirmed that he had indeed taken a dive. Then he denied it. Sargent said that he received threatening phone calls, some of which included racial slurs before the fight. 4 months later, Craig took on Rick Ennis in a televised encounter.
In any case, it was a tainted return for Bodzianowski, so he is looking for more here against Ennis. He's almost considering this his first fight back, although just the fact of stepping into the ring against Sargent was an incredible feat, no matter what happened.
Ennis is a real good opponent for him. In his last fight, Ennis took on the cruiserweight champion of the world, Dwight Muhammad Qawi. Qawi stopped him in the first round, but I mean, hit him with some solid blows. And you know how good Qawi is.
And Ennis now working inside on Bodzianowski. Referee Stanley Berg telling Ennis to keep it up. 10 seconds to go in the first round. It is scheduled for 8.
Bodzianowski had better come forward because backing up. He is fighting Ennis's fight.
And Ennis closing in. And Stanley Berg says, keep those punches up.
I really didn't see any low blow, Al.
And the crowd who are totally behind Bodzianowski, are booing. They didn't see any low punches either. You see the wrapped up right leg of Bodzianowski. Now, on certain occasions here, Randy, in the second round, he has had to backpedal. Now, what you're saying basically is the artificial foot has not deterred him from getting back as quickly as he was able to before the accident.
And you know, it's a new experience for him getting hurt. Remember the first fight back, he really wasn't hurt against Sargent, and he just got rattled before, but now he's got Ennis hurt.
Under 30 seconds to go in the second round.
Ennis shouldn't get involved in a slugging match with Bodzianowski. He should just keep boxing and using that jab.
Especially with a reputation of having a weak jaw. Oh! Ennis tags Bodzianowski. Referee Stan Berg steps in. With 10 seconds to go, Bodzianowski says he's all right. And there's another right. No saving by the bell except in the last round. Stanley Berg really helping out the cause of Bodzianowski on 2 occasions, stepping in right there. And he has taken a point away from Ennis for a low blow. Well, Bodzianowski here in his hometown in Chicago in trouble, and on 2 occasions the referee stepping in.
Well, on this occasion, I didn't agree with the referee. Well, that one was the low blow. Definitely it was low. But before, when Bodzianowski was in trouble on the ropes, Berg moved in and broke them up. Actually, Berg could say that Bodzianowski was helpless on the ropes. Questionable call here.
Why did he step in there?
Because he believed Bodzianowski was helpless on the ropes. Some other people might see it differently, like he might have been trying to protect the hometown fighter. As I said, this is a real good opponent for Craig Bodzianowski to face.
Ennis looking to upset the hopes of Bodzianowski and this crowd. And he is all over Bodzianowski, who is in deep trouble. Stanley Berg right there. Check out Bodzianowski.
Bodzianowski is in big trouble. He's in danger of being stopped right now.
And Ennis goes down. A miracle punch. What a turn of events. As this fight has turned.
Let's see if Berg will be quick to stop this fight now.
Bodzianowski in serious trouble moments ago. Now he's all over Ennis. A war here in the 3rd round. Bodzianowski has come to life. Stanley Berg almost takes a left hook. Midway through the round.
Those punches are not landing. They're landing on the side. That one did get through by Bodzianowski, and that's it.
To be filled with miracles, Craig Bodzianowski. And there are the Gator Rooters here in Chicago. He certainly appeared to get all the help he needed in the ring from the 3rd man. As his drama continues. Just when Bodzianowski appeared to be in deep trouble, ready to go, he came in with that right. Ennis goes down. That was the knockout blow. And now we see up above with Bodzianowski up the ropes. That was the first knockdown. That's when Bodzianowski appeared as if he were going. But he was able to catch Ennis, who walked right in.
Craig Bodzianowski, congratulations once again.
Oh, thank you very much.
You looked in pretty bad shape for a second. You were rocking and reeling there and bobbing and weaving, trying to do what you had to do to keep out of trouble.
Well, a lot of times it takes me a while to get started. He caught me with a couple good punches, and I recovered right away. I credit that to being in shape. And then when he was flurrying on me, I saw the opening for the left hook on the first knockdown, and I capitalized on it.
Actually, he did himself an injustice by landing one low shot, because I think had he not landed that low shot that referee Stanley Berg warned him about, he would have been on you pounding, and maybe there would have been a different ending.
I don't think so.
Okay, how did you feel in this real legitimate comeback fight?
I felt good. I feel that Ennis is a compatible opponent, and I think he's not going to come back with a story like Sargent did.
Never dazed you at all, did he? How much time are you going to take off, if at all? When are you going to be back again?
Well, hopefully we're going to have a fight right away in May.
Any names we could throw at us right now?
Like young Joe Louis, who will fight for the state title, hopefully. And then another fight or two, and hopefully we can get a shot at a contender or somebody, you know.
Well, the word Al Albert used for you is the Miracle Man, and you certainly were the Miracle Man tonight.
Good, thank you very much.
About 30 years ago, Rocky Graziano coined the book, Somebody Up There Likes Me. I tell you this, somebody up there certainly is in love with Craig Bodzianowski.
The spectacle of a one-legged man stepping into the ring was too irresistible for the media to ignore. Craig Bodzianowski wasn't just a boxer, he was a story. The kind publicists dream about and screenwriters circle like buzzards. Movie rights were being floated. A book deal danced around publishing houses, and even the Vatican took notice. Craig found himself in Rome, shaking hands with Pope John Paul II, a world away from the Midwest gyms that had shaped his comeback. Back in the ring, Craig kept punching forward. 2 wins later, he found himself across from Alfonso Ratliff, a former world champion with no appetite for sentimentality. Ratliff dropped Craig 3 times that night, winning a decision, but the crowd didn't boo. It buzzed. Craig had shown heart, the kind that defies odds and logic. He got up each time, eyes clear, fists ready. But not everyone saw it that way. He has more courage than good sense, Bernie Lincecum wrote. Someday, someone is going to hurt him bad. What once felt inspiring now teetered into something else. More critics sharpened their pens. Supporters held their breath. Craig didn't flinch. 4 months later, there he was again, before a televised audience. For Craig, it wasn't just about winning. It was about showing up, again and again, no matter how many times the world said he shouldn't.
You can hear the crowd with the Gator chant. Gator Bodzianowski. Craig has that little gator tattooed on his chest, where on a certain sports shirt a gator is embroidered. He cuts him off the shirt so you can see the one on his chest. A free spirit is Craig Bodzianowski, and we're finished with round 1.
Hit him a pretty good shot in the stomach or in the abdomen.
Hulk is a little loose in that area, and down he goes after a left hook to the head.
Shaking his head.
I don't know if that means yes or no.
No, he's telling the referee he's okay, but shaking his head, saying, how could this happen to me? Well, when you're in boxing, that's what happens.
That was a short left. He comes back with an uppercut, trying to catch Bodzianowski off guard, but I don't think that's going to happen. Craig threw a left hand all the way from Tinley Park.
Yeah, he's stalking him now. Dan, he's really stalking him, and he's shortening up his punches.
Two minutes into round number 2.
Come on.
I didn't see much there.
That's all.
Down goes Hawk with a big left hook.
There he goes.
That should be
That's
it.
what I say. He's on the boulevard of broken dreams.
That is
There
it.
you go.
It is over in
It is
round 2.
over.
And Craig Bodzianowski has won his 19th against 1 defeat.
Craig was back on track, but reporters continued to see him as a sideshow, and some complained that he shouldn't be allowed to continue. No one can deny the inspiration of Bodzianowski's example, Bernie Lincecum wrote, and no one should presume to tell him to stop fighting. I imagine, after losing a foot, that it takes a whole lot to hurt him now. The best that can happen to him is one great payday and his life story in a good time slot. I hope when it shows up on TV, there's not a dry eye in America. Craig rematched Alfonso Ratliff over a year after their first bout. The winner was promised a title shot by Don King for the cruiserweight crown.
Chicago at the age of 7, but from the reaction of the crowd, he may as well be from Timbuktu. Bodzianowski gets him in close and gets him with a weight. Ratliff dancing away, but again, will not have that much room to dance in this small ring. He's back in the corner again. Bodzianowski looking to bull. That's where he's at his best. Final seconds of round number 1. Big right by the Gator to end the round.
Ratliff still has that power. Bodzianowski's got to be careful of that.
The crowd responds. Bodzianowski getting his man against the ropes. Ratliff, the first world-class fighter that Bodzianowski has faced. Really a test to see where he is, although Ratliff may be on the other side of the hill.
Real close. The knockdowns took them away. Big left hook by Ratliff.
And Bodzianowski wastes a little time getting out of that corner. Ratliff, once the champion, beat Carlos De Leon to win the WBC cruiserweight title. His first defense several months later, lost it in a 12-round decision to Bernard Bull Benton.
Because that artificial leg. However, he makes up for it with his left hook, and he's still not afraid to throw that right hand. He's throwing it now. 8th round action.
Oh, are they beat?
Guts and determination.
You see the elbows of Ratliff coming through on those shots. Bodzianowski plows out of the corner. 15 seconds to go. It is deafening here at the auditorium in Harvey. Closing seconds to the 8th round. And 2 more rounds on deck. Craig Bodzianowski on the left. Alfonso Ratliff, the former cruiserweight champion, on the right. Ratliff trying to get back into the picture. Bodzianowski trying to get into the picture.
Bodzianowski stopped breathing between rounds. He may be weary from that tough last round that he had. The 8th round. This is 9th round action. 2 more rounds to go. This round and the 10th round. He should not lose any round, but if he's going to lose a round, it should be the round before the last round. The last round, you want to come on and make a big impression for the judges. And he's making a big impression for the judges and the crowd in this 9th round.
How close did you have it through 8 rounds?
I've got Bodzianowski a little bit ahead.
And he runs into it. Again, Ratliff with a big shot in close.
This is where Ratliff is dangerous.
Remember, in that last fight, Ratliff had Bodzianowski down in the 9th and in the 10th before Bodzianowski rallied late in the 10th round. Just when you may think Bodzianowski is going, he comes back just like that.
Big left uppercut by Bodzianowski. He's got that power in that left hand. There it is again. Go back to the well. If you're doing something and it works, use it again and again and again.
Well, they may have borrowed the Rocky choreographer for this one. Final seconds of round number 9. The crowd will be built to a frenzy for the 10th and final round. He says go at it for 3 more minutes. And Ratliff is doing just that. Boy, does he come out big here in the 10th. They were screaming at him in his corner to go get it here in the 10th. They do not want to go to the scorecards.
Bodzianowski has to do something here to break that chain. Tie him up or get a combination off himself. Again, the best defense is a great offense. That's what he's doing.
Bodzianowski leaning in. Think he used it effectively tonight?
He doesn't use it at all. He stays right on the inside with Ratliff.
Right.
He's making a tough fight out of an easy fight. Good, right uppercut by Ratliff. By Bodzianowski, I said that Ratliff doesn't have power in that right hand.
Ratliff swings him against the ropes, and he has him in the corner. Bodzianowski feeling very comfortable from that position. What a finish! A minute and a half to go. It has been like this most of the way. It's sweltering heat.
Bodzianowski can't lose concentration here. He's got to concentrate on winning this fight. Not much time is left. He's got to put an impression on the judges. He can rest tomorrow.
1 minute to go. Alfonso Ratliff thinking the same thing, leaving the judges with a flurry in the final minute. Ratliff swinging left hand. Swing and a miss for Ratliff. But he's right on Bodzianowski. Bodzianowski leaning on the ropes. Exhausted. Ratliff with a final push. Trying to get his man down. Ooh! Bodzianowski right into the buckle with his head. Boy, you kind of wish there was one more round left.
Ratliff teeing off on Bodzianowski. Bodzianowski still out on his feet.
He is ready to go.
7 seconds left.
Bell here in the 10th. There will be no knockout.
Oh, what a great fight.
Bodzianowski just able to get to the corner.
Tremere scores the bout 47-44. Judge Mike Leona scores the bout 46-45. Judge Bill Lurch scores the bout 46-46. The winner, the new Illinois State heavyweight champion, Alfonso Ratliff.
Were you surprised at the decision, Craig?
I thought I won the fight, but that's the way things go.
Well, I know you're not going to give up. I know that the type of fighter that you are. What's next? You're not going to hang him up on you.
I don't know. You have to talk to my manager about that.
Let's go back down to Al Albert. Thank you, guys.
The loss didn't deter Craig. A year later, he would take on another cruiserweight contender in Anthony Witherspoon.
This is the biggest fight of your career so far. How did you prepare for it?
Well, not really much different than any other fight. Just maybe trained a little bit harder. That's all. Worked on the same things. Tried,
Any butterflies?
No.
Have you ever had butterflies before a fight?
I get them after my hands are wrapped. I get a little nervous, and then after the first punch is thrown, forget it. Now he's mine.
What about the stakes tonight? A victory over Witherspoon, what can it do for your career?
Well, hopefully that'll put me on top, And I really don't, we won't know until the fight's over and, until later on and get proposed with other bigger fights, hopefully.
What do you expect stylistically from him?
I expect him to come out a little quick and maybe to move a little more than he normally does. But we're going to cut him off and we're going to get to him.
You think he's going to move more out of respect for you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think people are taking you seriously enough yet?
I think some people don't, but I think after tonight that'll prove it.
If people do underestimate you a little bit, how do they do that? What can you change?
Well, I don't know what, I don't know if they do or if they don't, and if they do, by becoming a world champion, I think it'll change their minds.
Good right hand, Bodzianowski. Witherspoon counters with a good shot to the body. Nobody's really been able to go to the body of Bodzianowski much.
Well, Bodzianowski looks to explode with that right hand. That's what he did to Andre Crowder. That seemed to come out of nowhere. That's all we got.
They ended that fight immediately against Andre Crowder, and we didn't see it initially because of the shielding of the angle. It didn't look like the fight should have been stopped at first, and then we saw the cut was really severe. This is a name that will jump out at people. He can put Witherspoon on his resume, but he is hurt. He is really hurt from a right hand.
He's hurt. Hurt and down.
And the leg bothering Bodzianowski too.
I think Bodzianowski's a little cloudy. He doesn't seem to know where he is.
He really got clocked with that right hand by Witherspoon and is in deep trouble. Witherspoon being very cautious, though.
Bodzianowski may have stepped too far above his class.
And Witherspoon opening up.
He seems bone dry, Bodzianowski. Not an ounce of perspiration.
And he got clocked again with the left hook.
He's wobbling. He's hurt. And he's hurt badly, I believe, Dave.
And he's very fortunate that that round ended.
Actually muscular, not that well built, but he is quick.
Bodzianowski trying to make this a power match, going to the body. And a good right to the head by Bodzianowski. He opens up.
Well, that's what the Gator's got to do. He's got to stay in close, and he's got to, can't let Witherspoon get some range on him.
And Witherspoon's left hook continues to be a good weapon. Bodzianowski was open for a right-hand counter. Witherspoon didn't take it. Bodzianowski really going to work here in this round and looks fresher than Witherspoon.
Well, if you didn't know it before, you know it now. Craig Bodzianowski is not a freak show. He's not the handicapped one-legged fighter. He's a fighter. May not be as good a fighter as Anthony Witherspoon and some other guys in the division, but he is a professional boxer.
And he's got a lot of heart. Lands a right hand on Witherspoon. Keeps coming forward. He's brought it to Witherspoon the entire round. Bodzianowski getting the better of the inside slugging there.
Going into round 7, Dave, I have it a push, as they say in your town, Atlantic City. I have it 57-all.
Good right hand there by Bodzianowski. Turned pretty well into it. Witherspoon gets a good left hook, but he's trying for the home run.
In Witherspoon's corner, they seem very casual, not too excited. Maybe they're watching a different fight than we are. See, now this is when Bodzianowski's most vulnerable, when he's backing up and when he's having to move in different directions, because of the leg, he's off balance.
It has been a good one. 12 rounds between Anthony Witherspoon and Craig Bodzianowski.
Bodzianowski with some good shots, Dave.
He's digging down.
Not flush, grazing shots, but still point scoring. I think it may be too little too late for Spoon.
Well, they will await the verdict of the three-person jury.
By unanimous decision, and the brand new WBA cruiserweight champion, Craig the Gator Bodzianowski.
It didn't happen all at once, but somewhere between the headlines and the handshakes, Craig began to feel it. Fewer phone calls, fewer match offers, excuses that didn't add up. He wasn't being scouted, he was being avoided. The truth was unspoken but obvious. For other fighters, Craig was a trap. Beating a man with one leg didn't raise your stock. It invited whispers, caveats, questions. And if you lost, well, that tape would never stop rolling. It's like people are scared of me, Craig said. They think of the old wooden leg or something. But it's not. I walk on the beach in my shorts. They think it's terrible. They look away. It's only the kids who'll come up and say, "Hey, mister, what happened to your foot?" But while many fighters gave him the cold shoulder and some writers still saw the freak show before the fighter, not everyone looked away. In January of 1989, the Philadelphia Sports Writers Association honored Craig with their Most Courageous Athlete Award, a distinction that spoke not to knockouts or rankings, but to the kind of courage that can't be coached. Courage is a hard thing to define, his mother Gloria said. He just tried a lot. He worked at it. You don't get this award sitting down and doing nothing. In anybody's book, I guess he's handicapped. But forget the handicap. He's out there on 2 legs. It's just one is a store-bought one. And then came the call. Don King delivered on a promise he'd once made to Craig. A shot at the big time. A title fight. Only in America can a one-legged man fight for the title, King declared with his trademark bombast. But the line rang with a strange kind of truth. On fight night, Muhammad Ali himself sat ringside, and Craig, ripe tight with purpose and pain, did what he always did. He kept coming. One eye closed from punishment, ribs cracked from the champion's bodywork. Craig pressed forward anyway, a one-legged Rocky Balboa chasing a dream that was already half won by simply stepping between the ropes.
Estamos en la parte final de esta pelea por la corona del mundo de la categoría crucero. Mejor Bodzianowski ahora. 2 veces a la izquierda, recibe sin embargo una derecha en contra. Cuando iba hacia el ataque otra vez lo frena Daniels, 2 veces con la izquierda en punta, combinación de manos en la zona baja de la cautela es este. Demasiado especulativo, arriesgando muy poco, pero llevando claras ventajas. Hay a su favor una marcada diferencia física y también una diferencia técnica, eso es indudable. Sea de allí que merezca una crítica algo mayor, porque él está en posibilidades de convertirse en un campeón con peso boxístico. Ahí metió 2 veces la izquierda a Bodzianowski. Estamos en la parte final de esta pelea, atención. Ataca Bodzianowski 2 veces con la izquierda abajo, una derecha, otra izquierda más. Sale Daniels, tratando de mantener el control de la pelea. Estamos sobre el final del combate. Ataca, aguerrido, guapo, entregado a la lucha, Craig Bodzianowski. Campana. Campana y es el final de este combate por el título mundial. El ganador por decisión, Robert Daniels.
By the summer of 1991, the headlines had thinned out. The bright lights had dimmed to a soft flicker. Craig Bodzianowski, once the one-legged underdog America couldn't look away from, now looked like a fighter running on fumes. That August, he stepped into the ring with James Wilder, a man whose record read more like a punchline than a threat. 1 win in 31 fights. But what should have been a tune-up felt more like a grind. Craig labored through all the rounds, ultimately getting out a decision, but it wasn't pretty. He didn't make excuses, but he didn't hide the truth either. "I've had a bad couple of weeks," he said afterward. Bad might have been an understatement. His house had burned down. He had to put down 2 of his beloved hunting dogs. His longtime trainer and emotional anchor, Nate Bolden, had passed away. These weren't just setbacks. They were body blows life had landed while the cameras had turned elsewhere. Over the next 3 years, Craig would fight just 3 more times. The novelty of the one-legged prizefighter had worn off. Don King stopped calling. The Pope wasn't sending invitations. Good Morning America had long since moved on to newer faces and fresher angles. Craig's final bout came and went in 1993, a fight without a promoter's pitch or even a blurb in the back of the newspaper. Craig pivoted into training, then construction, but without the structure and discipline of boxing, the demons came knocking. In 1995, he was arrested for battery after slapping a man who had brought a stripper to a stag party held in his honor. A year later, he faced charges for tattooing a 15-year-old boy without parental consent. By April of 1996, Craig was back in a squad car, this time for drunk driving, speeding, and resisting arrest. A year after that, he crashed his truck into a telephone pole and fled the scene, another layer of dust on a legacy beginning to fade. July of 1999 brought more of the same, another DUI, an aggravated battery charge, and yet another arrest for resisting. He was no longer a fighter with a story. He was a story the tabloids told, about a one-legged man who could take a punch but couldn't outrun his demons. His struggle with alcohol bled into the next decade. In July of 2008, he was charged again, drunk driving, improper lane usage, and illegal transport of alcohol. The mugshots piled up, replacing the old snapshots of raised fists and bloodied smiles. The following year brought a well-needed laugh. Craig won a local ice cream eating contest in his hometown, and in 2012, he graduated from Chicago's Le Cordon Bleu College of Culinary Arts. A new craft, a different ring, but life didn't give him one more redemption arc. In July of 2013, Craig Bodzianowski died in his sleep of a heart attack. He was just 52. There were no biopics made, no glossy HBO specials. His story never found its way to the silver screen. But maybe it didn't have to. Because for those who watched him fight, for those who saw him fall, rise, and keep moving forward, Craig's story was already written, round by round, with every jab and every step. He wasn't defined by what he lost. He didn't need 2 legs to show us what standing tall really looked like.